Hey everyone, it's Ivan, KidPatcher.com, out here with one of my enforcers,
Ira.
We're here to tell you about this little guy right here, which is actually this chassis. It is the LA chassis by Grey Birch Manufacturing. This one specifically for the CZ 527, 427, 457, one of those numbers. Grey Birch Manufacturing, pretty cool company. They actually were out of Canada, but then they were like, hey, why not some freedom? So they ended up coming down to the States. I want to say they landed down in Florida. And they make a bunch of things to include full-blown, like, in-house custom guns, like carbon fiber barrels, all that stuff. 22s, mainly. I think that's all they make. And this right here is one of their chassis. And their chassis, again, they make them for a number of different guns. This one for the CZ 457 22. And they make them with different length forends and some pretty cool stuff going on. So I ended up getting this, and I'll show you how this one in particular is set up and kind of tell you how it's done for me and how I've used it. As I had mentioned, this one is set up for the CZ 457 22. And this has the longer forend. As you can see, there's a QD socket if you're going to run a sling, and number of M-LOK slots, both on the sides as well as the bottom. And it's actually cut so it's a ARCA Rail. So you can actually shoot this thing straight off of a tripod, which is pretty cool. Then you have the heart of the chassis, which holds your action. Again, I have that CZ action, and then a 419 or area 419. Pretty cool 15 MOA base for my action, and around the back it actually has a level, and then on there using the Brownells is their match precision optic, I believe it is. And for my grip, I have one of the Stoner rifle grips, and then on the back here is their stock, adjustable, both length of pull as well as comb height, and it folds, which is pretty sweet. I will say, application-wise, folding stocks are just kind of a nicety for me personally. Really comes down to just storage, like traveling, being able to put this in a smaller gun bag than I otherwise would. I'm not going to shoot this thing with the stock folded, though I could if I wanted to. But I will say the hinge, once it goes over, locks up really nice and solid. These pieces are, this whole thing's really lightweight. Would I want to use this hinge on some sort of centerfire rifle? Probably not, but on here, on this 22, it actually does a really good job. And everything about this, I've actually been really pleased. One, definitely lightweight, and on top of that, being able to put pretty much whatever grip you want on here. Personally, like the Stoner rifle grip, keeps it pretty vertical, especially trying to shoot precision-ish with a 22, wrap the thumb around, do some shooting that way. And yeah, this thing's been pretty neat. And being able to actually have this built into it and shoot off a tripod is really cool. Which brings me to my use with this. Well, I've just really had a lot of fun with it. One, shooting with my boys from the very first initial time when we ended up shooting this. Had a great time out there, and a number of different trips to the range, and just being able to kind of stretch out this 22 rifle as well. It's pretty fun now that there's honestly some competitions kind of centered around 22, and trying to shoot a 22 at a small target at a couple hundred yards, like it's challenging. It most certainly is. And being able to just kind of go through the process of getting this thing dialed in at different distances, kind of figuring out what my dope is, mainly shooting subs because they never go transonic and they're just way more consistent. Although I will say you end up dialing a lot. Like depending on how far, even with this optic, end up running out of elevation at like 400 yards, even with that 15 MOA base, have to hold in the scope. But no, it's been a lot of fun shooting this thing out on the range. Did you hear that? 300 yards, subsonic. And at one point, I was like, why not shoot in a competition? Which kind of highlighted some interesting stuff for me, like that experience shooting this gun there. And I will say, like across the board, I had a lot of fun shooting a number of different stages with this gun. I only had my one 5-round magazine, and I don't think there was any stage that was like less than 10 rounds, which meant I was pretty much reloading on the clock. Again, I didn't care, man. I showed up to have fun, and I did just that. It was pretty interesting coming away from that competition though, shooting this gun versus seeing some of the other guns that were there. Honestly, some of my favorite stuff about this is, one, it's a chassis and it's rock solid with the action. So once you drop it in there, whatever that action, like barreled action, is capable of, you will get all of it out of it. And at the same time, just functionality. So if you're shooting off of something flat, this is flat, or you can throw a bag, or you can shoot straight off a tripod, or you have M-LOKs, you can shoot off a bipod, which I've done a bunch of that too. And I also, honestly, I think the design aesthetic on this thing is really cool. And it's nice and lightweight, which completely flies in the face of those competitions. People are out there with like 20-pound 22s, and I get it, like game the game, guys. But for me personally, I was just like, cool, man, like see what I can do with this. And I had a lot of fun out there, like taking nothing from it, or taking nothing from the competition rather. But it's one of those where this is not that. Like you can absolutely use it for that, but once you kind of go down the rabbit hole of competitions, like this is no longer what you want, because you want a really big, heavy chassis rather than something nice, lightweight, that's easy to carry. But I've been really pleased with this.
I like this gun, and I've had some great experiences with it. Getting to go out to the range with Dad and my brother, and it's been a lot of fun. It's great getting to shoot 22s because I usually like shooting them rather than other rifles, just because they're fun rifles. And I love getting to spend time with everybody and getting to shoot this. It's really an awesome gun. I like how easy this stock adjusts. It's great because we can adjust it to different lengths for our own needs, such as when my dad wants to shoot, we can adjust it longer to fit him, and when I want to shoot, we can adjust it to fit me. So it's really a great stock. I kind of wish my dad got this thing earlier because we were doing squirrel hunting at a friend's house, and it would have been great for what we were doing, and probably better than any of the other guns we were using.
I've had a lot of fun with this gun. In part, it's a 22, pretty inexpensive to shoot, fun to shoot with my boys. Like there's no recoil, super quiet with a can on there. We don't have to wear ear pros, so we can just talk conversationally, get to work through shooting problems also, like being able to work with like dialing, holding, stuff like that. Again, relatively inexpensively with 22 ammo, which is really nice. And it's also lightweight. It's not something, well, with this optic, you don't necessarily want to hike this thing around all the time, but throw a different optic on there and you have a really light, handy, compact rifle. And again, as far as shooting goes, shooting from tripods is amazing, and you can do that turnkey thanks to this 4N2. Price-wise, you're looking at, I want to say about $500 for the chassis, and then they make them for a number of different guns. This being for the CZ, they also have them for just like Ruger 1022s, Tikkas, all of it. Or if you really want to go down the road of custom stuff, you can get a full-blown gun from these guys as well. But there'll be links down below if you want to go check it out. And last but not least, if you appreciate my content and want to support it, greatly appreciate it. One of the ways is supporting me directly through Patreon. Little as $1 a month helps me feed this young growing man that eats all of my food, and it helps me go out and create more videos for you guys. And if you have questions for me, happy to answer them over there, where we have active Discord, and you get early access to videos and stuff like that too. But as always, thanks for joining us at kitbadger.com. Look forward to seeing you next time.
block gets hot, now she can't stop. She's a lot like a robot, and she can't